Welcome into the conversation. It is your host, Adrienne Lawrence. Today, I'm bringing you an inventor who also happens to be the founder and CEO of Alice Technologies, René Morkos. Thank you for joining us, René.
Thanks for having me here, Adrienne.
Yes, so right now, the current housing crisis, in terms of the lack of housing, also affordability, it is a major crisis right now in our society, especially as we look right down the barrel of what appears to be a recession. And it only seems like things are getting worse, but I know that Alice Technologies has an answer for us.
It does. We've invented the world's first generative construction simulator. And so it's a technology that can take a construction project and then simulate it in millions of different ways. It can build a building or a residential home or whatever it is that you're constructing 6 million different ways. 1 crane, 2 cranes, overtime, to find the most efficient way to go about it.
Wow, that definitely sounds like something that would help us address this issue. And in terms of layman thoughts, in terms of on the ground, I guess, how could people use this to really address the crisis?
Well, since 2019, housing prices have gone up by about 58%. Lumber alone has gone up by about 260%. Our technology helps you reduce the cost of labor and equipment, which is about 40% of the total, by somewhere around 13% on average. It also helps you speed up the speed of construction by about 17%. And so that's what the technology can do.
Wow, that's incredible. That seems huge, game changing. And so I guess, what are next steps in terms of getting this on the market and getting it to hopefully heal some of this problem out there?
Well, we're already on the market. We're working with some of the world's largest construction companies. We tend to do a lot of infrastructure projects around the world. My background is I've sort of been through 2 wars and seen the destruction that a lack of infrastructure can bring to a society. And so we've been focused on that, but we're releasing the residential module of Alice in the next few months. And that's, I think, going to address the lower end or the smaller sort of single family home market need.
All right, so you're looking to lower that need in terms of addressing the issue when it comes to single family homes, and also, again, being already on the market. But in terms of really getting there, in terms of the residential needs, what necessarily needs to happen?
Well, for us, what we're doing is it's a technical question. We're releasing something that actually speeds up the setup of a project, because most residential homes are actually very similar. What we're developing is an add-on that will allow you to actually set these projects up in less than an hour versus several days or several weeks that we need today. And so upon releasing this, you'll be able to sort of take a single family home, put it into the system. It'll ask you 15, 20 questions and pop out a simulated, optimized construction project for you.
Wow. And so, as I also understand it, so by reducing global construction costs by some 25%, millions more people will have access to healthcare infrastructure and also elevating their standard of living. How is that specific toward healthcare?
How's that specific towards healthcare? What Alice does, and we're working on some of the biggest infrastructure projects in the world. We're working on the HS2, for example. We're working on which is the high-speed rail in the UK. It's a $170 billion job. We're working on several infrastructure sort of projects in the US. What Alice does is it can take large, complex jobs and then tell you the most efficient way to build them. Whether you want to apply that to infrastructure, we've done data centers, we've done solar facilities, we've done healthcare, hospitals. It doesn't matter. It's almost agnostic in its ability to be applied to any type of construction project that you want. Healthcare is no exception. We've done, I think, $350 million hospital, followed by a $210 million hospital in the US.
Wow. And in terms of being an inventor, what led you down this path to want to create this technology?
I think for me, I always like to push the boundaries. I grew up in the Lebanese war, and so I saw really firsthand how destruction affects society. And so I learned very quickly how to build. And then when I grew up, I went to Afghanistan. I was a private civilian contractor in Kabul, really helping the reconstruction efforts of the country. Our company slogan was "Take it easy, we'll build it again." And so we did that for 13 months. I really saw, I was very young at the time, but I got given a lot of responsibility, and I saw how inefficient the process was. And so I ended up doing a PhD in the topic and really trying to figure out better ways to optimize it. And being in Silicon Valley, if you're a hammer, everything's a nail. So we applied AI to it, and it turns out that it works, and it works really, really well. There's a lot of inefficiency in construction, and applying AI to it really unlocks a lot of efficient cycles that you can sort of start doing.
That's really interesting in terms of kind of infusing AI in the construction process. What does that look like?
It's a great question. So I've put about 13 years of my life into it. And so I started doing conceptual research. And so conceptual research is just figuring out the pieces of the puzzle. And so what I mean by that is what is a crew? What is labor? What is equipment? How do you model cranes? How do you model overtime, calendars, resources, materials? So, just really spending 2 years of my life thinking about what are the pieces of the puzzle. Then from there, we went to theoretical research. So how do those pieces interact? What are the mathematical equations that govern these interactions? And how could you model it in a computer? And once I had that piece, started doing prototyping. And so just simple, small scripts of algorithms that could sort of crunch little problems. And then at one point, there was a sort of realization like, wait, this thing is alive. It knows how to build it. It cracked it, And then from there, it went to commercial product and then commercialization. And so that's taken 13 years at this point.
Wow. And did you find it difficult when it came to getting it on the market to convince people that this is a game changer?
I remember Edison has this quote, which is innovation is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. And I thought to myself at the time, the idea is worth about 20% at least. And as I sort of went through the years, I at one point realized, okay, he was right. And today I actually think it's the idea is worth less than 1%. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges. I actually have come to the conclusion that the innovation part is really just about the ability to bang your head against the wall longer than the other person. I think it's a lot less to do with skill or intelligence or ability, but just kind of gritting through it. So yeah, it has been challenging for sure.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's very rewarding. And I'm sure that many people in our society very much appreciate it because having this innovative thought and process will make a lot of people's lives a lot easier, right?
I hope so. The highs are definitely very, very high. You got that one day every couple of months where you crack that next piece of the puzzle and it's working and it's up and it's flying and it's doing all this cool stuff. And it's not comparable to almost anything else. It's a great sense of joy, but quickly followed by, 59 days of, this thing's on fire, it's not working, and that's generally the kind of way it works. But slowly, it's been slow and steady progress. It feels like the Silicon Valley roller coaster where everybody tells you, it up and down and up and down and up and down. But if you look over the course of the last decade, it's just been a average, steady sort of curve or steady slope, of improvement. And when I look at it today, it's definitely, I wouldn't have imagined it would be this big and this sort of powerful and this cool when I started it.
That is very cool. And even though you're not necessarily at the top of the mountain in terms of this technology, is there anything on the forefront that maybe is next for you?
Yeah, the release of the residential unit. That's, I think, one of the next things that we're doing. And we're interestingly enough looking at also targeting large, complex industrial jobs, solar, oil and gas, sort of upper end of the spectrum. So north of like 1.5 billion is the other sort of, flip side of it. And it's interesting that they both require like a setup before you send it into the system for it to be crunched. Just a different kind of setup.
All right, very nice. And in terms of how the construction kind of contractors are responding, are they pretty receptive? Because generally, as someone who's worked with contractors occasionally over the course of her life, I know that they like their processes.
Yeah, for sure. I think construction has received an unfair reputation for not being innovative. And I think that it's not that construction is not innovative. We are the last or second last in industry after agriculture to digitize because the problems that we're digitizing tend to be bigger and more complex than other fields. We had to wait for design, architecture to digitize. That only happened in 2015. And it's because the machines needed to catch up. And so you'll definitely find very innovative people. We work with construction companies that have in-house PhDs, research centers, computer vision sort of scientists, or developing their own software for drones and all kinds of, I say cutting edge research. So it definitely exists in the construction industry. You just have to look.
Yes, without a doubt. And as far as it concerns cutting edge research and innovation, I know you guys are looking toward the residential arm, but is there anything that we can anticipate possibly coming out in the future, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that what's happened in construction today is what happened to manufacturing back in the 70s and 80s. Construction as an industry is getting digitized. And I think the year that, if you were to sort of put 1 year where that started to happen, I think 2017 is a safe bet. 2017, I think there was a congruence of factors. The technology was there, the cloud computing, the processing speed, venture capitalists started pouring money. I think the money doubled and you started to see a big shift. And what's happening is that there's a new ecosystem coming at us in construction. The next 5 to 10 years is going to see a very, very different landscape. And that ecosystem that's getting developed is, in my opinion, going to get managed or to a large part valued by 30 to 50 companies. And the exciting thing is, for today, everybody in construction can be part of that wave. I realize that just like the researchers, the startups, the companies, the reporters, everybody that's involved in construction can ride this. The most exciting thing that's happened to our field, I think, really in the last 2 millennia.
All right. Well, we definitely look forward to it. And anybody who's interested in Alice Technologies, where should they go for more information?
AliceTechnologies.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, René Morkos.
Thank you, Adrian.